Hi, the topic today is how to be highly effective, and we're focusing on mental transformation. See, if you don't have knowledge, you will definitely become a victim of other people's opinion. I say it again, if you don't have knowledge, you become a victim of people's opinion. That's why knowledge is important. Because when you have knowledge, then it becomes easy, for you to stand on your feet. It becomes easy for you to defend yourself on certain issues. Because at that time, you've gotten a revelation about you. You will now develop an attitude. That attitude will reflect who you are. You can't have this confidence if you do not know who you are. So mental transformation is very, very important, because God will never take people directly to freedom without mental transformation. God will never take, an oppressed people directly into freedom, because their mind hasn't gone through the mental transformation. So that's why we are focusing today on mental transformation, because it is the key thing. It is the right stuff. It is the stuff we're missing all the time. So you might know as much as you like. You might read as much as you like. But without the mental transformation, it's not going to go through. You understand? Mental transformation is like a butterfly, a larva passing into a butterfly, metamorphosizing into a butterfly. So it's the transformation that is very, very important. A lot of people say they've changed, but they've not transformed. Changing is like, for instance, if a woman, conceives, her attitude will change, the body will change, the physical structure will change, her attitude will change. You will see it, the body starts swelling. So that is what it means by changing. So when you see somebody that change, you will touch it, you will feel it. So that's why transformation is very, very important. Ask me, why didn't God take the Israelites straight into promised land? Because he knew their mind had not changed. So deliverance is different from freedom. So freedom is something that you have to fight for yourself. Freedom is something you have to dig, your feet on the ground and, discover your future. You got to invent it. So mental transformation is important, because, for instance, the slaves have been freed, but they've not freed themselves. So that's why they keep on hovering. That's why a lot of people do not know the direction they are going, even though they graduated and they made the first class or they made the best result. That doesn't mean that they can, achieve freedom in their life, or achieve freedom, or get to their own destination. So that's why today transformation is important. We've had independence, but we've not transformed. So the mental transformation is the key. Because if you see people who are confused, know that they've not, had this mental transformation. Because mental transformation means changing into something. It's not like getting a new thing. It's about changing. So, because if you don't change, that's a problem. You won't utilize the future. It's like you are very much attached to what you've been doing. The Israelites in the desert, in the wilderness, they were attached to the very old things they were doing. So they had a burden. They were living with bondage. They couldn't separate themselves from bondage. You know, they were, entertaining, bitterness. They were kind of, they've not changed from killing their brothers. They've not changed from killing themselves. They've not changed from the attitude of killing their brothers. They've not changed from the attitude of killing themselves. They've not changed from the attitude of mourning and whining and whinging. They are still causing the darkness. They are still causing, the challenges. And this dramatically showed they are not changed people. And because of that, God couldn't take them to the promised land. He couldn't take them directly to freedom. Because freedom, the burden of freedom is so much. The burden of freedom, the responsibility is so much that even if you are taken there, you'll be pushed back. So that is why we expect people to develop themselves. We expect people to enrich themselves before. Because if you've not enriched yourself, if you've not developed, once you see a challenge, you run back. Once you see a challenge, you become a victim. So you cannot go into the promised land without having transformation. That is why today a lot of people say they are born again, but they're not transformed. They are still doing the old things they were doing before. They will still be doing, the things, manipulating things, and it doesn't show transformation. When you are transformed, see a butterfly is completely changed. You can see the difference between a larva and the butterfly. It's a kind of change. It's a mental change. So if you haven't got this mental change, it's very, very difficult. So it is not about location. Location is irrelevant here. Location is irrelevant because when you have mental transformation, you will now understand that location is not important. Because you've been revealed who you are. So whether you live in, let's say, Nigeria, or you live in UK, or you live in America, it doesn't matter. Because you've been transformed. Because you have had mental transformation. Because you've known who you are. So you will start operating. Some people are waiting till when they go to heaven before they start operating. It is wrong. So a child of God should be a child of God both in heaven and on earth. So your location has nothing to do with your transformation. Your location is not important. So a lot of us are waiting till when we get first class before we start operating. A lot of us are waiting till when we become billionaire before we can start our business. A lot of us are waiting till when, somebody pushes us, or when you see an overflowing cloud. That is the time you know that God is speaking to you. God is speaking to us regardless of our location. So that's why the mental transformation is very, very important. Because without the Spirit of God, you can't have mental transformation. Because mental transformation is about understanding who you are. Understanding you were called out of God. You are part of God. You used to live with God before you came to earth. It's by understanding that you came here to have, transformation. You came here to change the political landscape. Now, instead of changing this political landscape, the political landscape is changing us. What we are saying here is changing us. So when what we are saying here is still changing us, we've not gone through the transformation. So I do tell people, look, if you have gone through transformation, you are not subject to manipulation because you know yourself, because your attitude will change. You got a revelation about yourself. You won't be afraid anymore. Even though you'll be afraid at some time, you'll be resistant. You have the courage, because they say courage is resistance to fear. So you will no longer be afraid. So transformation is very, very important because A lot, okay, now look at people now. People are still demonstrating in America. After how many years of being free, they're still demonstrating because they do not know what to do. Because they're asking people to give them freedom. You can't ask somebody to give you freedom. You know, you can't even ask God to give you freedom because you need to work for it. You need to get the Holy Spirit inside of you that will transform you, that will show you the direction. And once you've been transformed, you'll be able to use your opportunities. You won't be demonstrating anymore. Now, if you are demonstrating, if you are giving 1 billion, do you know what to do with it? You don't know what to do with it. Highest thing, you use it to buy a car and use it to live a luxurious life. So demonstration we are seeing today is evidence that we have not been transformed. There is still a slave mentality that's going on. Because we are living in abundance, but we are dying. Look at, for instance, in Africa or in Nigeria. Nigeria, we have the highest, resources. We have a lot of resources, but we are dying of hunger. We are dying of, we are not able to provide things for ourselves. We couldn't solve our problems. So because we've not been transformed, even though we have independence, the chain of slavery is still in our mind. And that is why the only way to, break the chain of slavery is through educating your mind. It's through getting knowledge. It's through listening, because the more you listen, the more you unlock, the more you break the chain that is enslaving you, the more you drive out the slave spirit. Because slave spirit is the one that tells you, to be lazy. It's the one that encourages you to be lazy. It's the one that doesn't give you, power over things. It is the one that makes you, when you see hard work, you run away. You see, when people, have not gone through mental transformation, they are always scared. They cannot do the same thing for themselves because they are still living in bondage. Even though you've been freed, the bondage is there because you are still carrying, heavy load. You are still bearing grievances. You are still having memory of pain and suffering. That's why most of the times when you keep on, regurgitating pain and suffering, you are not making a progress. You are still attached to the past. You might, know the past, but you shouldn't be moving along with the past. You should, you should throw away, you should, discharge the past in the bin of history and then move forward and start inventing their future. Like one artist said, see, everybody is an artist. You and I are an artist. So you are an artist in the sense that you have to create your own world. See, an artist now. An artist will sit down and start, drawing, start creating things. The same way you have to create your life. God has given you himself. He has given you his spirit. That is all you need. He has given you his self-image. He has given you his spirit. That is all you need. So the whole thing is now utilizing on that spirit. The whole thing is inventing your own future. You have to invent your own future. You have to create your own future. So if you're afraid of creating your own future, that is why we're demonstrating. Because you are demonstrating every day in America, thinking that it's by demonstration. You can't win anything by demonstration. You can't construct your own house by demonstration. You can't start up your own business by demonstration. You can't do anything by demonstration. You can't win a heavyweight title by demonstration. Instead of you to work hard, you are demonstrating every day. Now, if you are given opportunity to run your business, you will be able to run it. You won't be able to run it. If you are given a business to manage things the way to organize the running of a company, you won't do it. So the only thing you can do is to demonstrate. because you are thinking that somebody will give you freedom. Nobody ever gives anybody any freedom. Freedom is earned. You got to fight for it. It's about having knowledge of yourself. It's about having the confidence and the courage to do things for yourself. So now, if, for instance, now, the whole Nigeria has been given to Nigerians for almost 50 years, 60 years now. They're still mourning and winging. They don't know what to do with it. We just don't know what to do with a country of 200 million with a large landmass. We don't know what to do with it. Why? Because we've not been transformed. We've not changed our mind. We still have, slave mentality. We still maintain colonial mentality, where you are still living in, having that slave mentality. The slave spirit is hovering there. So because the slave spirit is hovering there, the people are living in bondage because they can't see beyond their nose. If you are trying to advise them, they don't take advice. If you are trying to tell them, look at what we do, they will discard it or they might even kill you. Just like they wanted to kill Moses in the wilderness, because that is how people who are slaves, who've been delivered, that's how they behave. And that is why God do not take oppressed people into freedom, because your mind is not correct. Your mind is not right. You don't know the difference between what is good and what is right. You cannot maintain anything in your life because you are living in bondage, perpetual bondage. You possess a slave spirit. And that slave spirit is making you to feel inferior. It's making you to seek acceptance. It's making you to tell you don't have sufficient resources. You don't have sufficient money. You don't have, somebody to help you. But you have the Spirit of God inside of you. You are created in the image of God. You function like God, yet you don't know. So that is the problem. It's not like people are demonstrating. It's because they don't know what to do. Because they don't know how to design things. They cannot do it themselves. Even if they've been taught in the school, they still need to be guided. You see, people who are demonstrating are like, children, they're like a child who owns the whole thing but doesn't know how to manage it. So somebody has to guide that child from the age of 1 to the age of 21 or 18 before the child, can now have access to what belongs to him. Because at that time, the child is not yet developed. That child is, doesn't know how to solve a problem. He's still, under the guidance of other people. So, and that is what we are seeing today. We are under the guidance of the colonial masters because we are not yet ready. We are not yet transformed. The bondage is still there. So, because of that, that is the problem we're having. You don't need anybody to do anything. You don't need somebody to tell you who your father is. Most people do not know their father. Most people do not know their roots. Most people do not know their background. And this is a complete confusion. And because of that, we are demonstrating every day. As if you are given the whole place, you know how to run it. You will run it down. If you can't run a business, how can you run a country? If you can't, do things for yourself, how can you do it? You can't do it because you've been taught to devalue yourself. You've been taught to underestimate yourself. You've been taught that you are not worthy. And because of that, there is no self-confidence. There is low self-esteem, poor self-concept. And that is why they are demonstrating. You can't demonstrate if you know what to do. You can't be wasting your time demonstrating. What you need is to go to your bedroom, design something, do great thing, and then you achieve it. It doesn't matter where you are staying. But by the time you are demonstrating, that means you are wasting the time. Time is money. That means you don't know what to do. By the time you keep on demonstrating, since 1960, they've been demonstrating. Who's going to lead them? Because why you're demonstrating is that you don't know that you can sit in your house and design an aircraft. You don't know that you can sit in your house, design, a great, app that can help you liberate yourself. You don't know that you can design a menu for yourself. You can design a food, menu. You can design a kind of cuisine for yourself. You can run your own company. You can start your own business. You can write your own book. So the time you use in doing these things, you're using it to demonstrate on the street because you don't know who you are. You don't know that you possess God. You don't need anything. You don't need education. You don't need money. Why are you demonstrating for? You practically do not need money to be a great person. You don't practically do not need an education to be a great person. You just have to do things, trial and error, you develop yourself. How did these people achieve the things they achieved? Some of them did it in their garage, some of them in the bedroom. Some of them were even 12 years, 30 years. Some didn't go to university. And we're wasting time thinking that, we want reparation. Now, if you are giving them money because you don't know what to do, you waste the money. You end up giving it back to them by using it to buy all the whole beautiful cars. Using it to go all the whole party from one station to the other. And then the money will finish and then you start coming back to blame everybody. So when we are demonstrating, it is evidence that we don't know what to do. And this is because we've not had true transformation. We've not had the Holy Spirit inside of us. We've not accepted the Holy Spirit, which is the main thing that will enable you to understand things. So we are saying mental transformation is the key. You've been liberated, but mentally you've not been liberated. You are still holding yourself. You are still attaching to the former things you've been doing for 400 years. You are not innovating. You are not asking questions. You are not growing because you are very much attached to the old thing you've been doing. One moment. You are attached to the old thing you've been doing. Today, there is a story. This morning, my wife got a good news from a friend. One of her classmates, for a long time, they were having problem of having a child. So for almost 18 to 19 years, this couple have been living together. But today, she got a call from one of their classmates telling her that one of her friends, that had been having problem conceiving, had got a baby boy after like 17 or 18 years. And could you imagine how this couple, will manage to stay together after all these challenges? So in fact, when I had the story today, I told my wife, I said, look, this is inspirational. This is an insight. This is to confirm that God's alive. Because probably medically they said the woman won't have a baby. But after like 17 or 18 years, this woman, had a baby. It's not through IVF, a natural, pregnancy. It's not like a IVF. So this will show you the influence, the impact of God. So I said to that, I will have to say it today because it has, illustrated, it has strengthened my faith on God. Because the doctor said, look, this lady will not have a baby. But this couple, they stuck together, and today they've got a result. To tell you that God can bring spring in a desert. Where there is desert, God can miraculously transform it into, a rainforest, into a spring. So it's not like desert on, you see, where you think the person will not have a baby or will not have a child, God can do it, like as God has done to this couple, because after like 17 years, you know, who knows what they went through? What do you know what people said? Do you know what the parents, you know, the kind of, you know, the kind of perception, the kind of confusion, the kind of problem they went through? Yet they had faith, and today, you know, they've gotten it contrary to medical, you know, advice. Doctor said, look, you can't have a baby. Yet they believed in self, they had confidence, and that is faith. So God is always doing it. He's saying that, look, I will bring a spring. I will in the desert, I will make a spring in the desert. And that has shown to me that even though you don't have anything to do, once you stick, you know, once you show that commitment, you will overcome. So most of the problem we have in life is that we don't know that it is the commitment. You know, if you have a responsibility, you're committed to that responsibility, you're gonna be there. So it has emboldened me. It has inspired me. It has shown to me that, look, you can achieve whatever you aim at. All you need is to be consistent. All you need is that commitment, a long-term commitment. Most times, the problem we have is that we see the physical things that happen around us, but we don't know how to translate them into our life. For instance, now, when you talk of marriage, marriage is about life commitment. Commitment for life. That's what marriage means. We practice it. We have probably a mother and father, maybe in marriage, or you must see some people who are married. That is a total commitment. But then, do you know that you can transfer this total commitment to life into what you are doing? It's just like now, if I'm, for instance, now, let's say you have to stand on your feet. It's a physical thing. Standing on your feet, let's translate it into what you're saying is like starting your own business, being on your own, you know, grinding something towards this freedom. So the physical things we are doing, we underestimate them. We don't seem to understand what they mean. For instance, like I said now, marriage means life commitment. You know, probably God asks us to get into marriage is to teach us a lesson, is to, you know, reveal something to us that commitment, life commitment is the key to everything we're doing. Like this video I'm doing now, I have to bring in life commitment to it. Whether I have one person or two people, I keep on sending my message without, you know, without being phased, without being angry, without, you know, cursing anybody, without feeling, you know, without feeling bad about it. So if you borrow a leaf from marriage, you can now, you know, understand what we're saying about commitments. Like in your workplace, you can show life commitment. You can show life commitment to your vision. You can show life commitment to what you're doing. So people think it's marriage that is life commitment is totally what it's saying. There is a different knowledge that is going on which we need to extract from marriage. There is a lesson, you know, there is a story behind marriage. There is something behind it. That thing behind marriage is life commitment. You know, extract life commitment and put it into what you are doing. You'll be successful. Extract life commitment, which is the symbol of marriage. Put it into what you're doing. You'll be successful. That's the key. So, but we think, oh, we have to go to university to learn things. We have to, you know, be first class to learn. These things are common things we do every day. Like you are sleeping. A person who is sleeping will wake up. When you wake up, what does sleeping mean? Then when you're sleeping, how do you wake up? What does it mean to wake up? What does it mean to separate yourself from the bed? These things are physical things we do. I'm sure there's nobody who doesn't sleep. But if you're sleeping, you must wake up. And then when you wake up, what does it mean to wake up? What does it mean to arise? What does it mean to step away from your bed? These things are physical things. But these physical things are here to teach us something. Like, we might be sleeping, like we are sleeping now in the world. The world, a lot of people are sleeping. They are not conscious of what is going on. They don't know that the evil people are awake, doing funny things. And then they are sleeping, thinking that God will come all the hell from heaven and do it. They don't know that they have to be awake. They have to understand the invisible things. They have to understand the nuances that's going on. So now, if you're not, perceiving things, if you're not understanding the nuances, that means you're sleeping. If you're not conscious of what is going on, you are sleeping. Now you have to wake up. Then when you wake up, how do you wake up? How do you arise? Do you take initiative? Arise means to take initiative. So taking initiative, being proactive, start doing something for yourself. Then when you arise, did you walk out of your bed? Some people will arise and still be sitting on the bed. How do you get up from the bed when you must have arisen? When you must have, awoken from sleep? How do you get out of the bed? What does it mean to get out from the bed? What it means is you have to separate yourself from your bed. Your bed is your old way of doing things. You have to stop attaching yourself to the old way of doing this. That is what it means. It's a simple process of one sleeping, awaking, and arising, and coming out of the bed. But people don't understand what it means. It means it has a huge insight in this particular physical activity we're doing. So until you understand these things, you think you need to go to the university to understand. You don't need to. It's a physical thing we're doing. So that's why it is very, very important for us to begin to understand what is going on in the world. Like today, I was shown the fashion the Gucci's are chiseling out. On the periphery, the fashion looks like it's like fashion is a normal thing. But if you have insight, you will see they are using the fashion to change the culture. They are introducing something into our culture without us picking it. Many people are not picking the nuances. They are not picking, the underlayers that are going on. They are not sensitive. But you need to, look behind the scene. You need to, look behind what is physical. Now, so some people are saying of the opinion that they are trying to normalize pedophilic activity because they are bringing up babies or children's wear, an adult is now wearing it. They are trying to, make you believe that you are a child, make you believe that there's no difference between an adult and a child. So that is the culture. They are very subtle. So you need to understand how clever these people are. You need to pick up these nuances. Because if you're not picking them, you'll be wallowing in ignorance. You'll be thinking, how are they going to come? But they come in a subtle way that unless you're extremely clever, you can't pick them up. they are introducing a new culture by the clothes we wear, even the kind of music we dance, even the kind of things we do. Music, all these things, sports, they have a culture they are communicating. So unless you pay attention to these things, you would think, it's ordinary. But inside of it, you got to read, between the lines. Because if you're not reading between the lines, you are not clever. You are not understanding what is going on. So that's why we need to wake up. Like Bob Marley was asked one day. Bob Marley had an injury, or somebody attacked Bob Marley, got an injury, and the next day he was shot, or he had an injury. The next day he went out performing, and people were asking, "You had injury, you had the hand bandage, and you're still performing." Bob Marley told them, "Look, the evil people are not sleeping. They're all activity, doing something. So why will I be sleeping when the evil people are not sleeping?" So these people are wide awake. You need to wake up from your bed. You need to wake up from your slumber. You need to arise. You need to separate yourself from your bed. It's all written. So we can't continue to be children anymore. If you have a dream, if you are dreaming, you must wake up. You must arise. You must separate yourself from bed. So we have to understand what is the narrative. We have to understand, behind the scene, what's going on. So you don't have to wait before we will know that the ground has shifted. Most people do not know that the ground, have shifted. So it's only you'll be there and the thing will swallow you because you are not paying attention. You are not clever to read. You need to read. You need to be like a sheep in the midst of wolf. So what we're saying is mental transformation. So mental transformation is important because without mental transformation, you cannot, you're still living in bondage because you'll be taught in the university. You graduated, you came out, you don't know what to do because you don't have the mental transformation. You don't have the grip of what you were taught in the school. So, because the key thing is the mental transformation, which has to be your ability to understand the spirit of what is being taught in the school. And then once you understood it, it becomes easy for you to practice it. Because if you don't get the spirit of it, you cannot, put it into practice. You see, you have knowledge, you have understanding, but the application is the problem. It's not that we don't have knowledge. It's not that we don't have understanding. It's because we don't have the application. We don't have the wisdom to apply it. So the wisdom to apply it is hard to get. You can learn everything, but come and do it. You won't be able to do it. It's because you didn't get a grip. You didn't get the spirit of it. You need the transformation. That's the mental transformation. You see? So, because the problem is we are thinking that things will work for itself. No, you got to do it. You have to got the confidence and the courage to step out and do it. You got to have the courage. Yes, you might have fear, but you got to overcome, learn your fears and get out there and do it. When I started doing this video, I was so afraid. But I know that I have to do something. I have to come out from my shell. I have to, master my fears so that I can do what I want to do. Otherwise, I will end up fearing throughout my life. So that is why the mental transformation is important. A lot of people know what to do, but they cannot apply common sense. They cannot apply it because they haven't got the spirit. They haven't got the conviction within them that they can do it. They are still allowing the fear to control them, allowing fears to rule their life because they lack knowledge. Because when you have knowledge, you are no longer subject to manipulation. When you have knowledge, knowledge of yourself, knowledge of your capability, knowledge of who you are a child of God. God breathes into you. You came from you came from the material that God was made of, and yet you are afraid. Yet you don't want to stand up on your feet. Yet you don't want to do something great. Yet you are, allowing individual opinion to run your life. You are allowing, criticism, fear of rejection to control your life. You're allowing your friends to run your life. You're allowing your mother or brothers or sisters to run your life. It is wrong. You have to run your own life. You are not supposed to be afraid of criticism because, you see, criticism, rejection is like the soil on which you build something. So the more you are criticized, the more you are being fertilized, the more you are germinated. But if you don't understand it, you give it. Because these people that are criticizing you, if you bring up, ask them why are they doing that, they don't have any answer. They don't have why. So we are, because everybody has stereotype. Everybody, we are, every human being, it has a bias. And this stereotype, people see you from that lens and they evaluate you based on that stereotype. And then their evaluation they're doing is wrong. It's a total misconception. And then you are believing in that misconception or bias or stereotype. Now, if you believe in it, and then that means you are internalizing it. That means you are believing in something that is full of error, something that is incorrect. And that is where you are building your castle. That means you don't have a good foundation. So that is what we're saying. You see, don't allow the feelings, the opinion of people, to lead you astray. Because those opinions are subjective. They are not objective. Because they are subjective in that they are full of error. They are, biases, which came from misconception of who you are, which came from maybe their own fear that's projecting into you. And then you are accepting it, you are believing them. And then they are running your life. So that's why we're saying that if you have knowledge, you can't be a victim of people's opinion. 99% of people are victim of other people's opinion because they allow other people's opinion of them to run their life. I am not going to allow your opinion of me to determine from where I'm going, because I know that you have bias. I know that you are stereotypical. You have stereotype, and stereotypes are wrong things. They are biases. You can't lay hand on them. And now, that stereotype, that bias is, they are the things that I'm building on. They are the things that are influencing me, preventing me from doing what I'm supposed to do. It's because I accepted it. It's because I don't have knowledge. If I have knowledge of myself, I will not allow your bias to influence me. I will not allow your bias to build a house, build a prison. And then I find myself inside that prison. The bias builds something like a mold, builds something like a mold, and then you go in there and you are stuck. So that is why it is not good to allow individual opinion of you to influence you. People's opinion of you are not correct. People's judgment of you are not correct. People's, the stereotypes they have about you, they are not correct. So don't allow them to use it to hold you to ransom. Otherwise, you are a victim of their own ignorance. So I'm beginning to wind down now. The key thing today is, the subject today is a mental transformation. It is all about, removing the chain that exists in your mind. It is not the chain that is on your ankle, it is the one that is in the mind. You need to remove it, because you cannot, make progress unless you remove it, because we are attached heavily to the things we've been doing, to the things we were taught, which were wrong. And unless we separate ourselves from those things, we cannot have a prosperous future. We cannot move into our future. You understand? We allow, our challenges to run our life. We allow our difficulties to run our life. So we're not supposed to do that. We need to separate our life from it so that we can have a future, because your future is much more important. Your vision is much more important than anything you're doing. So that's why if you conceive something, start doing it. If you have an idea, start doing it. Don't be afraid. Because remember what God said? The Psalm 91 is saying that if you fall, God will not allow you. God will send the angels to hold onto you. Falling doesn't mean you have to fall. Falling means if you take a risk to start up a business, if you take a risk to start up what your vision is, God will not allow you to crash. He will send people who will assist you. He will send people who will encourage you. So the risk taking is part of life. Don't be afraid. No, falling does not mean that you got to fall from the high upstairs. No, falling means if you step out, from the shell, stepping out from your comfort zone. And then, because if you don't step out from your comfort zone, you're not going to make progress. If you don't hit the boundary, you're not going to make progress. If you don't go beyond, your comfort zone, there's nothing you can do. Don't fear for the world. Be driven for the best. Because if you are afraid, you can't move to the future. Nobody goes anywhere without taking risks. Nobody goes anywhere without progressing. Nobody, goes anywhere without, changing the status quo, without asking questions. But if you're attached to the old things, that means doing the same thing over and over, and you're expecting a different result. That is insanity. So until we learn, to abandon our fears, abandon our critics, abandon the things that are holding us back, it's difficult for us to walk into our future. We need to invent our future. Nobody's going to do it for you. That is what we're talking about, freedom. That's what we're talking about, mental transformation. It's all about inventing your own future. You are an artist. Start writing your future now. Start inventing it. And that is the power you possess. You possess the Holy Spirit. You possess God inside of you. So whatever you conceive, you've achieved it. All you need is life commitment into what you're doing, and then you'll be successful. Thank you.